Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Money Fit MD. I have the amazing pleasure of introducing you to one of our 6 to 7 alum, badass woman physician, Dr. Valerie. So I'm just going to go ahead and just say, welcome, Dr. Valerie, to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we're already talking, and I said, let's stop talking so we can press record so they can be part of this conversation that you and I are having together. And so you were sharing about your own money story of how, it was in the context of how many of us don't have family members that have taught us how to build wealth or how to even live life of a healthy relationship with money. So go ahead and share with us, like, what was the context of the conversations you guys had around money growing up?
So we never really sat down and talked about money. We only spoke about it within the context of because I we all went to Catholic schools, all the children, and we only spoke about it in terms of tuition is due. So okay, when you go into class, don't forget to stop by the business office and drop off the check for the tuition. It was always within that frame, and that was pretty much it. I mean, the focus in my family was huge on education. That was like the big focus. But it wasn't about education so much. And yes, we're going to sit down and talk to you about money and see what I'm doing with this money. I'm putting it over here and X, Y, and Z. It was more so like, yeah, you go to school, you got to go to the best schools, you have to do this, you have to do that. My dad had all of us, all of our career paths chosen. You're going to be the doctor, you're going to be the CPA, you're going to be the lawyer. It was in that frame, but never did we really ever stop and talk about money. And I wish we had. I wish we had because I feel like I'm just catching up.
If you think about it, I'm curious, what kind of work did your dad do?
He was a principal.
Okay, no wonder he assigned y'all's career. You're going to be successful, you're going to be successful, and you're going to be successful. Did your sisters or siblings end up doing that? CPA lawyer?
Okay, so my brother, he did apply to law school, but then he decided he didn't want to go. So he's now a city manager out in Georgia. Or actually, no, he's a county commissioner now in Georgia. Then my sister, she is a CPA. Then my other sister, because I have 5 siblings, then my other sister is, she worked for the federal government. She worked as an auditor for the Department of Defense. Unfortunately, she was caught up in the government stuff. And then my brother, yeah, he works for the state of Illinois. So we didn't quite do what he intended because my one sister went to Boston Law College, and she was like, yeah, she called my parents and told them, this is not going to work for me. I don't want to do this. So she thought my dad would have been like, okay, disappointed, but he said, well, if that's what you don't want to do, then don't do it. So, yeah, we didn't quite all do it the way he wanted, but we did all at least go to college and finish and
Love
go
it, love it.
beyond that.
And so you mentioned that you did not talk much about money, and you have a sister that's a CPA, so theoretically she does money. Did you talk money or get any sort of like conversations around money with her that maybe helped you, or no? I'm curious.
No, actually, I think it's also kind of, I feel like in some way it was maybe implied, but like talking about money and wealth and what you're going to do with it was taboo. It was like, it, kind of like hide your light under a bushel. That's kind of how my parents were. So we don't, as siblings, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about like, so what are you investing in? Like, I have been sharing with some of them what I am doing, but it's rare that I do it because it's interesting that you asked me that question because we actually have been kind of raised to see talking about money as like it's taboo. You don't do that. That's just not something we do. It's interesting.
Yeah. And that is very common in many families too, actually. We don't, now I think about the things that I learn as I'm a bridge.
Hmm.
And I think many of the women that I end up working with end up believing that they're bridges as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so as we learn, we're having more conversations so that now the knowledge that we're learning is dispensing into our families. And that's how there becomes more than one successful person financially when it comes to wealth
Mm-hmm.
building in the family. So don't worry, you're not alone. I'm sure there are people listening right now that are like that. Me too, me too, me too, me too. But let's talk about, so you were part of our 6 to 7 program, and that was that, our 16-week money foundation where we talk about money and how to, automate your finances and all of that good stuff. So tell me about how finances were for you 5 months ago. What was your thoughts about money, your relationship with money? A little bit more about that.
Okay, so I had started my journey of trying to develop an additional income a few years back. However, I felt like I was stuck. We did purchase a rental property, but I felt like still like I was stuck. And so 5 months ago, in terms of where we were, it was kind of like I was thinking that I can only do one thing at a time. I cannot do I can't do this rental property and then also open up another investment account. I can't do this rental property and then maybe try to do a syndication. I can't, like, I didn't think like that. When I came to your program, when I joined, you made me realize, like, no, you can do that. You can do that. You can, automate all your bills, and then you can also do the other stuff. And it was like a light bulb went off in my head, like, yeah, like, why didn't I think I could do that? Like, if I can put money aside for bills, why can't I put money aside for this other stuff? It just clicked. And so that was my relationship to how I would approach money and how I would deal with my finances. It was always like, well, you got to take care of this first, and then you take care of this. But then when you do that, you are delaying taking care of building wealth, because you're always like, there's, like, we were just kind of discussing off, prior, there's always something that's going to come up, and I have to keep reminding myself of that. There's always something else that's going to come up. So you have to be able to look at your life and say, this is my life and wealth is part of my life. And so since this is part of my life, this is something that I have to take care of while I'm doing these other things too.
Do you think that that's because of time, or is it like energy management, or we just don't think about the fact that there's more than one thing that we need to take care of?
I think it could be a combination of both, because I think we do. I think that we're all so busy today, right? So I think we get caught up in, I've got to do this, I got to run this errand, I got to do this, or you got to take the kids somewhere, or you got to that. And I think that we end up having, though, these periods during the day where there is some kind of time, a filler, where you can do something, but sometimes we're just catching our breath. I also think it's because we just have been trained to focus on one thing. Like, I was saying to you before, like, when you were in med school, I didn't focus on anything but med school. When I was doing residency, I didn't focus on anything but residency. It's like nothing else mattered. It was just like a one-track mind. And then when I started looking at some of these other groups and talking to other physicians, I learned from these other physicians that they were in residency and they were building wealth, that they were doing that. And I was sitting there going, just, okay, I'm on call tonight. I got to go to work. I got to go to. So I do think it's a lot of it too, is that we're trained to focus on one thing because we're trained to kind of get really good at this one thing. And then the other stuff, yeah, you just kind of do that on the side.
You know, I actually, as you're sharing right now, I remember a conversation I had with a woman physician, and I have many conversations, which I'm so grateful that I get to. And this one, there's been a couple, but this one specifically was from a couple years ago. Badass woman physician, leader in her hospital, published, and all of that. And she was focusing on that part of her life,
Mm-hmm.
the part of like the external achievement, which is not bad stuff, the publishing research, which is great for medicine and helping us move the career forward and save lives, the lead in her department. And I think she was the first woman that was the head of a department, first Black woman, had also very, very accomplished on paper. And then one day she brought her head up because she's from like the inside of the water. That's like a figure of speech, and realized that, oh my goodness, time is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I am in my 50s. Am I even going to be able to retire? Am I even going to be able, like, life? Am I even? And then there was also an alone in that, where because of all the things that she's done, she did not focus on anything else but that part. And what I talk about, and this is something that I teach inside of the Wealth Village, our job, our profession, this is one part of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like other nine arms of wealth that we are ignoring. And so when we're doing this later, we're like, oh my goodness, I don't have great relationships outside of the hospital. I don't know how to rest. I don't know how to play. I don't have money or assets. I don't have, all this other impact and things we're meant to create. And I'm just, that came to mind as you're sharing, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that too.
I agree. I agree. Um, I know for me and my husband, we are both like that, where we just focus. Like for him, he works in higher education, and so he focuses a lot on, oh, I'm so busy, we've got this Department of Education audit coming up, or we've got this audit, or we've got that, and we got this. And it's just kind of like, and I know for me, I'm like, oh, I've got to get ready for Monday for my patients, literally. Like I will say that, like today, my thought is I need to start my notes for Monday. What?
On a Friday.
I mean, I should be focusing on wealth. So even though I have made this progress in terms of how I view finances, it's still a progress in work. I'm still working on it. I'm still learning. I'm still got these habits that are hard to break. So I'm going to spend 2 hours starting notes, and I could be doing something that's building wealth for me. What are those notes going to do for me next week? I mean, yeah, I'll be able to go to, start seeing my patients, but okay, but then at the scheme of things, I'm back where I was on Friday. I didn't increase my wealth. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I do think that that's very true. I could see how she would say that. You feel like you look at your life and you're like, where are my friends? Like I even think about people that say they have friends from high school or college that they still keep in touch with. And I'm like, I was too busy to do that. I don't have friends from college right now. All my friends are from like medicine now because I didn't nurture those relationships. So, or even like when I think about med school, I didn't nurture those relationships when I was done. I just would move on to the next phase and just like, well, that's not important right now. This is what's important. What's right in front of me is I gotta do this. I gotta make more money. So yeah, I see it.
So let's talk about, you mentioned some of the progress you've made. Let's talk about that. Do you want to share with us, like, what were some of the, I guess, progress or some of the wins that you celebrated or things you accomplished inside of 6 to 7?
Okay, now this is not anything we talked about in 6 to 7, but I will say this, and this might sound so ridiculous, but one thing that I'm used to doing is I am used to if a car note, so it's like say if you pay off your car, you're like, oh yeah, it's time to get a new one. I'm used to that kind of thinking. Oh, my iPhone is old. I gotta get a new one. I mean, I am not doing that stuff anymore. Like I paid off my car note. I am like so happy. I'm like, okay, I'm not even trying to get another car. Yay. Just those kind of things. And then in terms of like we talked about me having this us having this short-term rental and wanting to convert it to an MTR or wanting to have it be a hybrid, the short-term and midterm rental. And so me adding it to like the midterm rental websites and trying and getting that started. So that is what we did. And then also I wanted to open up another investment account. Of course you have your retirement accounts, but I wanted to have my own, another account. So I opened up the Vanguard account and I started putting money in there. And those are things that I would not have done prior to joining 6 to 7 because we talked about those things and how this is life. You can do those things. You can, automate money. You can then also start putting the money in Vanguard, because my thought was always, before I move on to the next one, I have to finish this. Before I move on to that, I have to finish this. That is the thinking. I can't do them both at the same time. I've got to pay off this bill. That was the biggest thing. I've got to pay off this bill first. And then when I pay off this bill, this credit card bill, then I can put money in Vanguard.
And why is that
So
not a good idea? Tell us, like, what about that? Because, yes, we taught, but you had to see the benefit of the new way of thinking in order for you to change it. So why was that old system not ideal for you going forward?
because I wasn't building wealth, honestly, I was not. Instead, I was paying off debt. But I'm paying off this debt, but what do I have on the other side of that to show for it? I'm just paying off debt, but I'm not doing, I could be doing two things at once. I could be paying off debt. I could be building wealth. So that's what I see as a benefit. I wouldn't have had that money in Vanguard 7 months ago, 8 months ago. It was when I started 6 to 7, and maybe to some people they think, oh, that's not a big deal, but it is, because I do think that is how we approach money. A lot of times people think of, I have to pay this off first and then I can do this. It's almost like if I want to do something for myself, I have to take care of this other stuff first before I do something for me and my family. So paying off this credit card, then okay, then I can do this. So that really made a difference, really made a huge difference in my frame of thinking.
So break this down for us a little. By the way, you're sharing many gems because and that's why I love these conversations. People get to learn from you. So you mentioned something really quickly that I think is an important point. You said before 6 or 7, you would spend on your mindset was, oh, this phone is getting old. I've had this one for a while. I got to get another one. This car is, I got to get another one. Tell us about that mindset.
It's kind of like, and maybe this sounds ridiculous, but it's kind of like the keeping up with the Joneses. you know, I have this phone and it's an iPhone 14. The 16 is out now. I need to get the 16. And I really used to be that way. I really used to be that way. Like even the car that I have, I just paid it off. 5 years ago, I would have said, I paid that off. I have to get a new one. I have to, take this in and get a new one. But and even my husband was like, are you getting the new car? You getting a new one? And I was like, no, I don't even want it. I don't even need a new one. I mean, I have, the car's in good shape, only have 60 something thousand miles on it. I'm going to keep riding that for the next couple of years. And then I can use that monthly payment that I was using for that to invest. I'm like, it's a win-win.
Man, that, like, why would you even say that's not a big deal? Like, that's a huge deal because it's ingrained in us so much. That's why many people, many physicians, many women physicians are struggling and saying, I don't have money to invest because there's an automatic pathway
hmm
that is like baseline, just like burning the fuel, financial fuel. And that's why we don't have the money to grow the net worth. And we're like, I'll just take one more shift and one more shift and one more shift. Did you cut down at work?
So no, this is what happened. I was always doing 4 days a week, but what happened is that I work in corrections. I work with corrections, and so what happened is that I was doing inpatient for corrections. Um, and then I said, because I know they had telepsych as an offer, as a possibility, and I was like, well, I want to do telepsych because I was hearing other physicians saying they're doing telepsych, they're making the same amount of money that I'm making doing inpatient, and they had their days, they would be finishing in patients at a certain time, and then they, like about 11 o'clock, 12 noon, because when you're working with the prison system, they're on a schedule. And so they would do their notes, but they had a lot more flexibility in the way they could do things. And so that was the big shift. So I was doing inpatient up until mid March. And what happened is that the regional came to me for the state of Illinois, and she was like, I know you wanted to do telepsych and we don't want to lose you. So we've got this telepsych position. So we're going to give it to you. We want to give it to you. I was so happy. And so I actually ended up picking up more hours because I was doing 32 hours a week. And she was like, well, you want to do 40 since you're at home anyway? And I was like, well, it's not like I'm going to be working all those 40 hours. I'm going to be at home. I'm going to be done at 12 noon seeing patients. And my pay actually went up because I was doing more hours. So I know I don't like the 40-hour model. If you could do less, that's great. And I think you should. But I felt like given the way the system is set up for this job, that I could do that and still make that money because I have my afternoons when I'm finished with work. No one's like checking for me. No one's like saying, emailing me going, oh, are you still on the computer until 5:30? Or none of
Because
that.
you're getting your work done.
Yeah, you're finished. I can do whatever else. I mean, so yeah.
I love it. Okay, and that's the thing. So you're still doing what you love. You're still
Mhm.
serving patients. You're still being excellent at your work, and you have flexibility, and you're earning more.
Yes, I am earning more.
It's
I mean,
like
I don't want to say the income, but yeah, I'm.
that's okay. We ain't gonna talk about it online, right? But the
uh,
bottom line is that you're curating, and this is the importance of learning negotiation and learning how to ask. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm not good at that. I wasn't good at it before. I don't. My husband even tells me this. I don't know my worth. And so a lot of times when I would interview for a job and I would just be like, oh, okay, so that's the what I'm going to be making. Okay, and I would accept it. With this position, I think I was a little bit more assertive because I knew what the possibilities were. I mean, the job pays very well, but I wanted to be able to get to a point where I could make much more. And so that's when I just went ahead and I spoke to the regional like last year, and I said, look, I need to do telepsych. I have family. I need to be at home. I just need to do that. And then she was like, oh, we don't really have anything. And I tried my darndest. And I even like went online and was just started like putting my resume out there and just like, well, I'm going to look for something else because I need to be able to do this. Um, but yeah, eventually like they came to me and were like, well, we don't want to lose you, which I thought was interesting because the recruiter called me from the company and she was like, yeah, they told me to call you. They don't want to lose you. So they want to give you this. And I was surprised that they called me and said that. So, but
Love that.
generally in the past, I would be the person that would be like, okay, well, guess this is where I am. I'm just going to stay in inpatient. I'm not going to try to see what other avenues there are to, make more money and to also kind of get what I want out of life.
Love it. So now you're getting your life and money.
Right. I will say that I am making 60,000 more than I was making 3 months ago. So
That's like a down payment almost for next property.
I know. I remember when I was saying to you when I was messaging you the other day, and I was like, "Well, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do," and you were like, "Well, how much do you make?" And I told you, and you were like, "Oh, okay." So that, and I have to be honest, I've never made that much. I've never made as much as I'm making now. I'm pretty on top of the world with it. I'm just like, yeah, I really like this.
I love it. And you're earning more. You
Hmm.
are decreasing spending on things that don't add value. You're
Right.
investing more. What impact is that going to have on your long-term wealth building?
I would hope that it would allow me to retire sooner. and not even just that, but also to kind of pick and choose what I want to do. I thought about what you had said when we had one of our calls in 6 to 7, and you were saying how also when you have this wealth that you're building, you can kind of like pick and choose kind of what kind of things you want to do in terms of like what charities you want to, how much you want to give to a charity. Because I do give to charities, but I always think about there's so many different things that I want to do. For instance, and this might be a little personal, but yeah, we're talking about personal things. So, for instance, when I was a psychiatrist at this hospital, it was a hospital in an underserved community several years back. I saw a lot of children, particularly African American kids, that would end up in DCFS custody. And there's lots of socioeconomic reasons for why
Of
that
course.
happens. It's not necessarily bad parenting. Some of it is, that's another story.
Systems.
System.
The system, yeah.
And and so one thing that I said to my husband, I was like, I actually I think, because there's so many black kids in foster care, I was like, I think I want to adopt from foster care at some point. And so that is another thing. I never shared this in 6 to 7, but that's another reason why I wanted to be at home too, because that is something that we would like to do this year, is we do want to adopt a child from foster care, because black children are I think they're the number one, they have the most children in foster care. They're the most in foster care, so the highest number of children in foster care. So that's something that we want to do. Now, people do say, oh my God, be careful because of blah, blah, blah. And I do understand what they're saying about that. But there's training that goes along with that. And then there are ways for you to kind of basically kind of weed out certain situations. So that's been something that I think with this kind of schedule I'm having, and then with building this wealth, that will allow me to do something like that and then devote a little bit more time to that. Because I've always had this dream of like, I want to do something where it's at big, that where I'm able to give back to the community in some kind of way.
Yes. Oh, thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to share something with you that I talk about, and I speak about this more in Wealth Related than in 6 to 7. And for those that are listening, 6 to 7 is focused on money primarily, and Wealth Village is like wealth, wholesome wealth, which is money, assets, and the other things we teach, which is like the arms of wealth, so that you can have a balanced wealth, and not balanced in the way that people like same percentage, no, but like you can have it all, literally. And what you're saying right now is one of the things that I corely believe, which is that our lives should be an asset. And what you're saying is you're creating a life that's an asset, not just in medicine, so that medicine becomes one of the ways you give to the world.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like you're bearing more branches that are bearing more fruits. And the lives that you're going to impact, not just at work clinically, but outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the freedom, the option, the choice that you get to have when you bring your brain out and think about your money and you think about your life. Then you become an asset that just like compound in
Mm-hmm.
every different area. And that's
Exactly.
what that reminded me of.
Mm-hmm. And I thought about that more when you were talking about it, when you said in terms of your being able to give more to charity. That's really something that's very important to me, is, looking at underserved communities and kind of, and being able to give back. I know that when I was growing up, I was fortunate. My parents both have master's degrees and all of that. And, we grew up in a, nice area. And we had, I grew up, being fortunate. But my parents were always givers. And that's the one thing they were. Like, we didn't talk about money, but they were always people that gave back to the community. And so this is so important to me, this foster care route, just because of all the stuff that I would see when I was in the hospital. Um, So yeah, that's a big deal to me. Very much so a big deal. And I feel like, having, a little bit more, having more wealth and then being able to free up my time, even in terms of work. And even with this schedule, like, how I'm saying, okay, I'm still with 40 hours. My goal is to, by the end of the year, I would love to just be down to 3 days. That is my goal because I need
That's
those
awesome.
other 2 days to do other things.
Gonna make that happen. That's a
Yeah,
goal. That's a
that
goal.
is the goal.
Let me ask you, so there's someone listening right now that's like, I am where you were before 6 or 7. All I thought about was the automatic expenses. I thought I had to pay off all my debt before I can start to invest, but now I'm seeing that time is going. For you, did you have concerns about 6 to 7 before you joined 6 or 7? Were you like, is this going to help? Is this not going to help? Did you have any of that question at all? Or you were like, I am in and I am just sliding down the slide?
I have to be honest. I was like, I'm in because I've seen you on Facebook so much. And I was just like, I am in. Um, and it was just too important to pass up. I know that I spend money on other things, and this sacrifice was worth it because I'm building a future for me and my family. So I was in. I was in. That was very important to me. I was in. And it didn't matter. I was like, I'm just going to do it. I want to be engaged. I want to be around like minded people. I want to be around people that are going to be encouraging me because you can get caught up, like, you can get caught in like this tunnel where you're the only one doing it. But when you are talking to other people, you feel less alone. You're all on the same page and you have people rooting for you.
Yes, I love that. You're not doing this alone. Bless you. And if there's someone listening right now that is considering 6 to 7,
Mhm.
what advice would you have for them?
Not to be active. Be active. Don't just come and absorb information. Take that information and each week try to use that information in some way. It could just be a small thing like, okay, I could have spent $5 getting something from McDonald's, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put that aside and put that in my savings account or something. I mean, just be active. Because if you take the course and you just absorb everything and you don't do anything, you're still where you were before the course. So I would say if you're going to do the course, make sure to take what you're learning and be active. Be active. Like the one thing that I did like was when you had the CEO hour, and I was like, I never did it. And I was like, I think that's a good idea. I mean, if you know that you don't have the motivation and it's hard to get motivated sometimes to sit down and work on your money, budgeting, whatever you do, investing, then that's a good thing to have because then someone would sit and say, you know what? Oh, they're going to be on doing that this Friday, so I'll get on and do it. But I would say if you're going to do it, just little steps make a difference. Little steps make a difference, and it does.
And if someone is saying, well, I'm busy right now, I don't have time. From your experience now, looking at all the things you've done in the last couple of weeks, how many hours does it take to make a difference in your finances?
I don't think it takes a lot of hours. Well, I mean, I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it's either you're gonna sit down and you're gonna like, okay, like I opened the Vanguard account and I started putting money in it. That took like what, 5 minutes? I mean, it doesn't. It's not gonna take hours unless you're like trying to like figure out your entire, the rest of your life. I mean, it's not going to take hours. So I would just say that in terms of 6 to 7, I mean, we had the videos, the recordings, and you can always go and look at those during the course. So even if you miss a class, even if you miss a lecture, or not a lecture, but even if you miss the calls, you can look at them at your own time. It doesn't take hours. I mean, the opening an account or seeing if, oh yeah, I think I might want to buy a property. Oh, but I have this debt. and we talked about leveraging bad debt in 6 to 7. You can just go online and Google and look on some website and see what property is out there. Or, there's distressed properties out there that you can look at, which is something we're doing in Chicago. So, I mean, it's not ours.
Okay, all right. So I think what Dr. Valerie is telling you is, I ain't got time is not a reason why you cannot do your money. Because 5 minutes,
Right.
she opened a Vanguard account. She's like, it doesn't. So if you don't take anything away from here, look at all the different versions in which she said it does not take a lot of time. And that's important for us, especially for those of you guys that are working, you have kids, you have siblings, maybe you're a single mom, maybe you're married, like whatever it is, and your brain is telling you it's going to take time. Just hear Dr. Valerie's voice in your head as she says, it does not take hours. It does not take hours. And the key is this: life does not get less complicated. Thinking there's going to be a time in future when things are so quiet, so peaceful, you got nothing else going on, so finally I can focus on this. That's just procrastination with a lipstick on it.
Mm-hmm.
Any last words you want to share with us? This has been so good. Thank you so much, by the way, for just like sharing your inspiration, your why, how money is a tool to help you live this bigger life. But before we end, any last minute words you want to leave with our audience today?
I would say that your life is not just about your work. I know, and family is very important as well. So it's not just about that, but it's also about creating a life for you and your family that is fulfilling. And also, wealth is about creating the life that you want, not that you have to live, but that you want to live. If you have the wealth, you can live the way you want to live. So,
All right. There she has it. She's told that to you. No more procrastination. So I hope you can take one thing. If you don't take anything away from this podcast today, it doesn't take a lot of time. There is help. There is support. You just have to decide that your future is worth investing in, period. And if we can be of support, check the show note and you see the link on how to find us. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate your time.
thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I appreciate you even asking me.
Absolutely. And for everybody listening, if this was helpful to you, I want you to do us one favor. Take the link and share with another woman physician that you know will be inspired by Dr. Valerie's journey. We are on a mission to help women physicians see that there is life before it's too late, so that we can spend more time doing good within and outside of the examination room. All right, guys, see you in the next episode. Goodbye.